All right, well, welcome back to the Reinvent and Hunt podcast. As always, we're lucky tonight. We have Kenny from SpyPoint Game Camera back on here as a guest host. Thank you, Kenny.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Appreciate you coming back on. Of course, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Cook from the Outdoor Pro Shop down there in Maryland. He's always here, like tried and true, like a mailman. And you're like through sleet, through snow, Kevin's on.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys being here. It's going to be fun to talk about SpyPoint as a part two here. Yeah, of course, being a bastard myself and wearing the shirt. So I want to thank SpyPoint. It's a great shirt. Loving the merchandise. They're an amazingly awesome company to rep for and to get out. And of course, the game cameras and the equipment they have are just beyond anything I've ever ran when it comes to that sort of tactical game reconnaissance or just doing what we could do for the whitetail woods or anything that way. But tonight I'm going to focus on some other things that SpyPoint can do. I know Kenny's going to talk a lot about it. I'm sure I got some in the mail. I'm going to hold it up. Probably won't come in real well. It's like sideways, but it's the SP LB10 solar panel adapter. I know that's the background blocking it out, but this is a really cool product we'll talk about tonight, Kenny, a little bit as we get into it, because it's going to make it a lot more functional for people out there that don't want to chew up thousands of batteries and replace batteries all the time. And I want you to go through what that is, because I haven't put it out yet. Like I said, it's still in the box. I've been running my SpyPoints all year, and in Ohio, we're excited because I told you guys before I came on, I got a real slob of a buck. We've been getting on camera, got him on camera consistently now in the same spot, and that's kind of a neat thing to see. He's been cruising through the same trail coming down a steep hill from a really dense bedding area. And another guy and we saw him. I didn't see him both. He saw both of them last year, and they know they made it through. He's been seeing them consistently in this area. So when we got the SpyPoint out, I always like to throw, when I'm doing recon, I don't know about you guys, but I'll throw a little like kind of cheapo mineral block out at first, just to kind of have something out there to see what's around the area, and then maybe a little heavier mineral as we progress towards season. I don't know what you guys do.
Absolutely. It's the same thing I do. In fact, I was talking to one of our pro staff. They've got one that's got 3 main beams, just a killer looking buck.
Wow.
And he's like, I've got it. I can't have product out. I can't have anything out come opening day season. I was like, man, I'm telling you, I would find something. I'd pick out a good attractant. I'm a fan of Monster Meal myself, and it's just strong and potent, and it pulls them in. So then I'd be putting that out, and I would get him addicted before your season starts, just to get him there. And but it's cool, man. And he's catching all those picks on his SpyPoint on the Flex M actually, okay. And it's a good looking buck.
I think that's one of the benefits of the whole SpyPoint lineup to me personally is whether you want to go super high res with like the Pro Force or Solar Force 48, where we got like high res megapixels, 48 megapixels and 4K resolution video, and you're checking those micro SD cards down to like any of the trail cell cams, because you've got an adaptability as to how often you go to an area and how high a quality of content you want there.
Oh, absolutely. And that, talked about that Force Pro 2.0. It's the solar version. That 4K video with sound is just incredible.
Yeah.
I enjoy that camera the most. It's probably the one I check the most here on my property that I have here, because it's right out my front door, 200 yards, and I can just go out and swap the cards out. It's just cool. Yeah. I love the video quality.
And I have a question for you guys. Like when you have a camera where you're swapping a micro SD card out and you're reading it, like I've got card readers, so I'll walk out with my laptop, I'll take the card reader, pop the micro SD card in it, and let it download. It takes a couple of minutes or so, depending on how many numbers you have. Some guys go out, take the cards out, and go back and put them back in. What do you guys do?
I always swap.
No, go ahead. I just don't. I typically run cell cams, but if I'm running one of those where I got to pull a card out, I'll take a card with me and just swap them and then look at them. Like I don't walk back again. I try to limit that.
Yeah. And that's what I do. I swap out. I swap the cards out, bring them back. I like to pull them up on the big monitor and and look at it. And I always, because of the sound, I like to crank up the volume a little bit and hear them talk. It's cool.
Yeah, it's like I always I treat it as Christmas every time I do that, or every time I've got my I've got all my Flex G36s set up at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. 2 times a day, and that's what I love about that too. Of course, a lot of companies have the option now, but I just love the adaptability and the ease that SpyPoint has with it, because once you set them up, it's so quick to scan a QR code, get the cam up and running. It's so quick to send a test picture, and I think that's what a lot of guys and gals and generally people out there everywhere, they don't want a lot of messing around, or they don't have a lot of time to mess around with the camera. And that's what I like about the SpyPoint line is you get it up, you get it running, you choose when you want the picture sent to you. And it's like Christmas every 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. I've got little SpyPoint icons popping up. I can't wait to check those pictures wherever I'm at. Not driving, but of course, where I'm at.
Absolutely. You talk about ease of use. That whole Flex series that SpyPoint came out with is hands down the easiest camera I've ever dealt with. You pop in your SD card, you add it to your app, you turn it on, format, off you go, and you're done. Right? I mean, there's nothing easier.
Yeah.
So I love it. It's so easy to put out. I've got my 8-year-old grandson. He can go out and put the cameras out for me. It's a cool deal. When you get kids involved and at that young age and they're able to do it, you've done things right.
For sure. And I think they also have a lot of fun out there with you or whoever they're with, just like watching what's coming in. It's a surprise to them too.
No, absolutely.
My daughter gets excited every time I get pictures on the phone because I set out a ground line to take her hunting for the first time this year. And she's like, Daddy, did you get any pictures? Did you get any pictures? She's like,
that's awesome.
I can't wait to take her this year. It's going to be awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Kenny, I want to talk a little bit tonight. Again, I'm not going to have a great res here in this, but it's this SPLB10 compact lithium battery solar panel that SpyPoint sent out to all the ambassadors to hook up to their game cams. What is it? How does it work? And why is it functional for a hunter?
So it is our new solar panel this year. It has a built-in battery. So the intent of it is to keep batteries recharged in a camera that you have, right? So you don't have to go put one of the lithium batteries that we have, like the Lit 22 batteries in there, and it'll just keep running, and it's great. But it's got its own battery in there, so it'll run a camera for a little bit of time. It's not designed to run it full time. It's designed to keep your batteries charged. But it's small, it's compact, it's that 10-inch panel. The price on it is incredible. Yeah, you go start pricing those solar panels, they're well over $100 almost anywhere. And I believe that one is I know our 22 is sitting at $99, but I think our 10 is on the market for $59.99, and if you're on the Insiders Club, it's $47.99. You just can't beat that deal, right? I mean, it's good. It's not overly big. Our last one was a lot bigger panel. Doesn't fit in a backpack well, especially if you've got several of them or several cameras. But you can put 2 or 3 of these in your backpack with your cameras and carry them out and mount them. It comes with a good tree mount. Several different options on cables. It's just a great product. It's a great product. I got mine the other day, and it's already out.
That's nice. I think it's a good adaptation. And like you said, we recommend rechargeable lithium ion battery in the camera and add this on as an add-on, correct?
Yes, that's what we recommend. And you can't go wrong with those lithium batteries. They do keep them charged. Even the old panel that I have, I've got some out that they've been out since I put them out 2 years ago, and I never have to touch them. They just keep running.
That's nice. That's nice.
And it'll work on any of it. It doesn't have to be a cell cam. You can put it on the Force 48, the Force Pro 48, which does not have a solar panel. You can attach it to that. It's a great option for that camera, especially with the high level video content that it puts. That it takes a lot of camera power to create that video and hold it. So it's having a lithium battery in there and using that panel is a great idea.
For sure. I know a lot of people get into this a little bit with you tonight too. they have a lot of different mounting options or different angles they like to put their cameras at. And I want to give a shout out to Brian tonight because he gave me a really cool idea last year. We were talking about, I haven't done it yet, but I'm definitely going to do it this year. And that is doing like a top down bird's eye view of like a, mineral block or some bait. If you're like, legal to put bait where you are, and have like the deer kind of like an aerial shot. I've never thought about that with a game cam, mounting it top down, but what are some different options of guys and gals out there? I'm sure you've heard some really crazy stuff that they've gotten. What's out there that people do?
Well, you're right. Brian's talked about that, and people have gotten real creative when they started hearing him and other people come up with some good ideas. But I think that was when I heard about it. I thought, man, that is cool. All these years, I've never thought about that.
Yeah, me either.
And then I seen one of the pro staff, they had taken, and I believe it was the Flex M, and they took the camera mount and they put it down in front of a mineral block. So put the mineral block real close to a tree and had that camera to where it was aimed just above that mineral block. And so now you're getting the picture of them deer licking that up close, just in their face. It was cool.
That's really cool.
It was cool. Hearing them lick that, they had it on video, so hearing them lick it was just really cool. So I get to see a lot of stuff because all your pro staff, they email all the pics or videos into our mailbox, and I get to look through all of those, and I get to see some real brutes, but I get to see some really cool videos.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Cool. That'd be a lot of fun to be able to do that. Like be that person on staff who gets to see all those incoming pictures. Everybody's going to send their coolest stuff in or some of those big deer, and I'm sure that's a lot of fun to do for the staff.
Oh yeah, it's cool. You really get to see some unique stuff. Seen some real unique stuff with bears. People getting creative because bears are curious.
Yeah.
They tear up cameras a lot, especially anything's got an antenna. That's the first thing that happens, right? Is that antenna gets played with and generally ends up falling off. But you get some cool pictures up to that point. So they get creative. They're trying to find ways to get them out on thin branches and hung down to where at an angle. But you get some cool pics, some cool angles that you would have never thought of. But we have bears in Missouri, but they're in South Missouri. I'm in North Missouri, so I don't ever have bears on camera. So I don't know how to get creative like that with them. But
yeah.
These northerners that we deal with on staff, they have a lot of bear pics, so it's cool.
That's like the great debate in Ohio. I'm sure this will get a lot of attention out there, but it's like, do we have black bear not in Ohio? Of course we do. It's like what's the population density or number? I don't know. Where they at? I don't really know. And every once in a while you get this like, is that a mountain lion or was it not? And it's a cat. No, it's a bobcat. Everybody's fighting about it, and I'm sure mathematically. I'm sure there are mountain lions that pass through, and I can't tell you how many numbers or anything, but black bear and mountain lion in Ohio are two real, debated things that we have here that not a lot of people get on camera. But I actually saw, and I was driving down to Killbuck, Ohio, going bow hunting one day, probably 10 years ago now. I think it was probably after college, but had to be. I was driving down past a field, and I saw what I'm sure was a little black bear cub at the edge of the field, a pine grove, and it was like one of those things that you don't see ever, right? It stuck out, and it absolutely was a little cub. But it was like I looked at it and I was like, that a dog? And I was like, what? And I slowed down and looked at it again. I got a really good look at it, but then no one believed me, and I'm like, I swear, it's like I swear, so you never know.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well, we have the same thing here. I mean, like I said, black bear. They just opened up a limited draw season for residents on black bear in Missouri, and it's all south. But we've got pictures of people having mountain lions or cougars on camera, but all in northern Missouri. And they're smaller cats. They're not like what you would, and they come generally from Nebraska, the mountainous area up in northwest Nebraska, and they're just nomads traveling through, headed somewhere. So.
Kevin, down in Kevin's laying down there in Maryland. Like, what kind of weird stuff you guys have going on, animal wise?
I don't know, not much weird stuff. We do have bears out in Western Maryland. I don't know. I've never hunted the bears here, so I think it's on like a limited draw system as well. There's not many tags for it. I'm actually in 2 weeks, not next week, the week after. I'm driving up to Maine for a week and going bear hunting up there with 10 people. So. That's going to be
That's
fun.
cool.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Now, how do they do that up there? Like when you go up and hunt bear, because I have a story about Newfoundland when I did it, but are you gonna like what's the law? Like, do you have a handgun backup? Do you have mace? Like, what is it? Are you only allowed a bow?
Yeah, they tell you to bring a sidearm. You have to have you have to have a main like hunting license, gun hunting license, not just archery, because then you can't take a sidearm. You have to have the hunting license for gun. But I'm actually gonna have both because I'm taking my bow to shoot, but I'm taking a sidearm with me.
Yeah, yeah. I know after watching how fast a bear goes up a tree, like 2 seconds, it's like hunting in Newfoundland. I'm sitting there with a 400-pound black bear 20 yards from me. I've got my compound bow, which is a bear, and four. Yeah. Well, I had two. I had a arrow nocks with a close in the end. Then I had one. I took off my quiver for a quick, load, and then two more in the quiver. But then my guide's about a half mile up the road. He's like, "Well, he's like, you feel comfortable hunting here, solo with by yourself?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. We'll go for it." And then the bear walks out. I'm like, "That thing's a bus." It wasn't. It was like, I think it was the after effect. Like after a fact, you sit there and you go, "That probably wasn't the greatest idea in the world."
That thing could have tore you off.
Yeah, well, yeah, like 3 foot in the air in an old rickety wooden tree stand with no protection.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
We've all been there. You after the fact, you go, "Man, probably should have done things a little different next time."
Yeah, all the time.
Yep.
But the only bear story I have is I went hunting with a friend of mine out in South Carolina 3 years ago, and maybe 4 years ago, and we know that he has bear on his property, but I was out there bow hunting deer, and I crossed over at the end of bow season right into rifle season. And so it was the first day that I'd walked into a rifle season. So I had my rifle on my shoulder, and I'm an old fat man. I don't like to climb hills if I don't have to. So I finally told him, I said, "I want to go down into this bottom. We've seen deer down in there." So I'm walking down in there to hunt the afternoon, got in there, got set. Man, I loved it. I said, "I want to go back there in the morning." He said, "Okay." So I get down, I walk in, and there's this point that you have to walk around. And from that point, it's about 20 yards to the tree that's got the tree stand in it. I walk around that corner and I just hear, boom, man, just heard across the creek, all that splashing. And I thought, man, I just busted the deer out. And then I started hearing that huff. I went, oh no. And I got my light, and finally, and I seen the sets of eyes. And then I turned it on to bright, and I could see the curvature of the head and the ears. And it was a young cub on this side of the creek, 20 yards, and Mama was on the other side of the creek.
Oh boy!
It's black, man. All I can see is the outline because of my light. Pull my gun down. I wait, and finally that cub crosses the creek, and they went up. I was like, holy smoke! It was the craziest thing.
No doubt.
My heart was beating.
Absolutely. I get that. After I harvested the one in Newfoundland, and I was like, it was getting dim. I had about 15 minutes of legal hunting time left, and she came in and gave me a nice quartering shot, and I remember shooting it, and then I think it like went about 10 yards behind this big pine tree and like disappeared, and then never came back out. I'm going, where is this thing at? Like, I don't know where it went. It's getting dim. I'm not liking it, and so I had to. I don't know what to do. I was trying to make some noise to let anything else know I was there, and I picked up a piece of 2x4 and cut from a tree stand bill, whatever's laying there. And I just like chucked it in this tree to make a loud smacking noise to hopefully scare off anything that was there, because you never know. Like if there's one there, there's probably more somewhere else close, or there's bait there and they're coming in and don't know you're there. And if you run into them at the wrong time, you're toast. It was something.
Oh yeah.
But we all have those stories.
I hope my wife there before I go.
Oh yeah, you won't. You probably won't die, Kevin. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I mean, it's most likely. It's like
a nervous wreck all week.
I was telling someone today about that water buffalo story, and they're like, "That's insane." I'm like, "Yeah, my dad and the guide, and all you heard the guide say is run." I'm like, when you hear the guide say run, then you react. Right. You're gonna react,
No doubt.
It was something else, but it was a crazy story. We all have those. I remember the first morning we were in Newfoundland hunting the moose. It was the coolest memory I have because it was like misty, right? It was dim, and the guy was letting it light up and get lighter so you could start to see where they were at. And all of a sudden, He goes, they're right there. And there were three huge bull moose about 50 yards away, feeding on some like branch leaves or something. But man, like you couldn't move, couldn't say anything. I always remember how this memory of like the mist, the light from behind them, and then seeing the bull moose standing there. And it's like that kind of stuff. I'm sure you guys agree, like it gets ingrained and burned in your memory. Like you just can't forget that kind of stuff in those memories.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like an elk bugle, right? I mean,
Yeah,
once you hear that, it's just addictive.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's
I had,
cool.
I can only imagine hearing an elk bugle. I mean, like the Sitka deer on the eastern shore, they bugle, but it's probably not as loud as snow. So I can only imagine hearing one of them up close.
yeah, you have to change your
Oh
pants
yeah,
probably.
No kidding.
yeah,
Be
no
crazy.
doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt.
We've had some. I mean, I haven't had a lot of running with whitetail, but I know during rut around here, they get dumb and aggressive. It depends on, it's like any wild animal. I always tell people like, the best dog in the world, you love them, you respect them, but like they're an animal, right? Like they're still a wild animal. They'll still react, and you don't know what's going to set them off in the environment they're in. And I think I was in high school whitetail hunting one night, and it was getting afternoon. It was past golden hour, and it starting to get toward the end of the hunting light. And I think I grunted one more time. I thought, well, I'll sit on the ground. I didn't have any tree stand at the time. I was just a young hunter with a underpowered crossbow, learning how to do this whole thing. And I sitting by this tree, and it was like dry, and the leaves were crunchy. And I thought, well, I'll grunt more time. So I'm like, grat, grat, and off the top of this ridge, it sounded like a train coming down off the hill, just and it stopped about 20 yards away. Well, it took enough time. It was like 2 minutes or 3 minutes to happen before I grunt and it came down off the hill. It was starting to get dark enough. I couldn't see anything. Of course, I didn't have the weapon ready at all because I couldn't shoot them. But it was standing there, and I didn't know what to do. I honestly had no idea what to do. Thinking this thing's gonna just ram me and just kill me and stick me with its tines. And the only thing that popped in my head, and I know it's a funny thing, it's weird, I get you, but like I started singing because we had a cockatiel at the time whistle the Andy Griffith song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the top of my lungs, I started whistling that song, and I'm like, "Get away, deer!" I had no idea what to do, and luckily it ran off. But I'm thinking, you got two reactions: one, the thing kills you and tears into you, or two, you scare it and it runs off. You never know about whitetails. There's some crazy stories out there.
Oh yeah, there's some crazy videos.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Well, Kenny, back to the Spy Point series. I know the one big thing that people are talking about this year a lot, I think is really cool, is this idea of, and I don't know if we hit on it a lot last time, the on-demand picture. We mentioned it, I know,
mhm.
but that on-demand picture, what is it? What model is it on, and what is its use?
So that was something that came out with the Flex S, so the solar, and this year it came out on the Flex Plus. So the Flex Plus is in that same Flex line, holds 16 AA's or two lithium batteries. I mean, you can do a lithium battery and 8 AA's. You can pack it back and forth, but it's really thick. But both of them have that instant mode on there. In your app, you can go into that camera and you can turn on instant mode in your settings. Tell it that it enable instant mode. That way, if you want to check the instant mode, you just go in your app and click instant, and they'll send a photo. Depending on where you're at, 20 to 30-second turnaround from the time you click the instant picture to get to your app. I think 30 seconds is about the longest I've had, and that's been down in a bottom where my cell signal is literally one bar on my phone, and it took about 30 seconds to get round trip. But it's cool. I mean, it's people, when they first came out with what I started doing was setting it up, taking an extra Flex S, and I'd set it up at my tree stand, basically at the base of the tree, pointing out so I could get as wide angle of view as I could, just make sure there was nothing in before I walked in. You're still getting close enough to your camera. You don't want to do it 10 minutes away because deer can walk in 10 minutes. So you want to be close enough just to make sure there's nothing there and then walk in. I started doing that, and then we started talking about it on staff, and a bunch of people started doing that last year, and I think people are still doing it. I got to where I don't worry about it as much. You know, when I walk in and out, I mean, I'm walking in the dark, I'm walking out in the dark, and you know, it's all about your wind. You know, deer make noise. The woods are not quiet, and anything that moves is noisy. And it took me many years to get through that concept, but it's still cool to have a picture in front of your stand, especially if there's a deer there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the diverse array of options you have for, you know, you can set up the trigger speed, how many pictures you want. And of course, there's a lot of different companies that do different things with how they want to format that, you know, software. But in my opinion, after looking at all of them, I think SpyPoint does a great job at listening to the hunter. Like they listen to what the hunter needs, what functionalities they want. And I think it's a situation where, you know, and I can't say this, but you can better than I can, but they listen first and then adapt what their software is doing to meet the hunter's needs.
So, you know, and it's funny that you say that. The Fall Hunting Classic at Bass Pro Cabela's is going on right now, right? And so everybody, you get all kinds of reps that are out there. And when you go and get to work those stores, you hear a lot directly as pro staff or somebody sitting there from people you normally don't talk to, right? And you get a lot of information on how people are actually using the camera. And feature functionality is one of the things that SpyPoint's been real good about listening to the customers, as you said, to put those things into the product as a whole. And I'm gonna use things like GPS on the cameras, right? Cameras are expensive, and I think the last time we were on, we were talking. It may have been, I think it was Brian that said he had one stolen, and the fact that they activated the camera, they were able to locate it and go get their camera back, right? That's an awesome feature. We've had that out for 4 years, 5 years in certain cameras. Competitors are just now coming out with it, right? And that was a feature that people are like, man, if I'm spending money on these cellular cameras that are more expensive than the non-cell,
right?
You know, I want some security. And then you start talking about other features, you know, when you want to sync, which is how often that the cameras upload to the cloud so they can get them to your phone, how you want burst mode, all of that capability. There's a lot of software, a lot of feature functionality comes into it. Then you turn around and you start getting the questions like, well, this competitor, they have this kind of stuff and they have this kind of stuff. Well, how often do you use it? And then when they start talking about how often they use it, the things we already have is what's more important to them.
Right.
But I will say, people that use SpyPoint, pay attention. There's some cool updates coming. Don't know exactly when they're coming out, but there's some cool updates coming.
That's good insider information. Didn't that GPS signal lead Brian right to Kevin's house? Is that what happened? Brian's knocking on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Give my camera back.
At least it wasn't at my hunting property. That was one of my spots.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
that's awesome.
With like you're right, with the money involved and, you know, people trying to raise their families and, you know, just pay for regular bills and cost of living in today's world. If you're going to get something, you want to be able to know it's going to work well, and, you know, you're putting money into something and you want it to perform for you. But I think also, in my opinion, I don't know about everybody, but I think with the cell cams being so GPS related in today's world, I think it does maybe deter a little bit of theft. The fact that, you know, the GPS is pretty traceable and usually you can figure out what's going on with it, or, you know, you're getting a picture of the person right before they yank it off a tree or something. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know, hopefully everybody out there just respects. That's another thing I want to talk about tonight to finish up. You know, respect the people's property and their equipment, and let people hunt. Let's not, you know, get a bad name for stealing people's equipment out there. You know, people work hard for their families and their money and their equipment. So let's respect what's out in the woods. Because that's too many, you know, it hurts the whole industry when you have people that do things like that and don't respect the end of people work hard for their money.
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree. And I think having GPS capabilities in the cameras, I do agree, have deterred a lot of people because they start reading and well, that's a cell camera. There's the antenna. The fact is they can probably track the
instant picture.
And the picture's already taken, right?
Right.
And so that does deter some. The ones that it don't, they realize, okay, well, I'm caught, so I'm taking it anyway, right? And those are the guys that are probably more the ones you really want them to turn that camera back on, like what Brian had, to go to retrieve your camera. But there's the respect thing across the board. It's crazy how a lot of people aren't taught the right thing to do, right? I open my campgrounds up to anybody, and you want to come and hunt, you just tell me, come. I've offered it to you guys, right?
Yes, you have. Yeah.
All you have to do is let me know. Come on out. I mean, I've never met you, never shaken your hand face to face, right? I mean, that's not something we've done. This is it.
Yeah.
And but it's open, and it's open because I didn't create this. God created this, and He gives us this ability and the freedom in this greatest country to do these things. Man, share it. Share your knowledge. Share what you have. And I take every kid I can take out. I participate in a local nonprofit organization here that's called it's a hope thing. It's for terminally ill kids or kids that are severely injured or handicapped. And it's all about outdoors. I mean, we do an annual deer hunt. We do an annual turkey hunt. We go snagging for spoonbill. There's crappie fishing. We've got guides on the lakes that we had a guide. Great story. Sorry, it has nothing to do with SpyPoint, but this is a story that just sinks in people's hearts. This guide said, okay, I'll do this guide for you one time. You guys are looking for it. And they took this kid. And this kid has a brain tumor. He's like 10 years old. He's the size of a 5-year-old right now. And he took this kid and put this kid on. The kid said, I want to drive the boat. So he put this kid on his lap. That guy was in tears. That guide was in tears the whole thing. He goes, this is the greatest thing in the world. Now, anytime that the organizer of this thing calls him, he's like, absolutely, bring anybody you want. We'll go fishing, just not charge him a thing. And that's what this guy does for a living. And it's that kind of stuff that's cool. And it's about getting people out, getting these kids out, making their day. I took a kid turkey hunting one time, got him out in the ground blind, and he seen something out, and he goes, can I get out? It's like, it's your hunt. Do whatever you want. He ran around in that field for 5 minutes, gobbling like a turkey. We had no birds inside of it. No birds. And he goes, okay, can we go eat now? And we got out. And he told everybody he'd been turkey hunting. He was an expert. It was the greatest thing in the world to that kid,
That's cool.
And that's what it's about, right?
It is.
And I wish more people could figure that out, have experiences like that to where they understand it.
Man, that's well said, Kenny. I think we're going to end on that note tonight because that's the best story we could possibly end with in this episode. So we want to thank SpyPoint and also Kenny for coming back on, and Kevin for your time. Everyone out there, like, share, give us a review, get us a Green Belt Hunt podcast. We hope this has been informative and also a lot of fun tonight. So thank you guys again for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone out there.